Welcome to Miss Evans's European History. Today we'll review the English Civil War. The war divided the country into two sides: the Royalists, also known as Cavaliers, who supported the king, and the Parliamentarians, also known as Roundheads, who wanted limits on his authority. Under leaders like Oliver Cromwell, Parliament's forces grew stronger. After years of fighting, the king's armies were defeated, and Charles was captured. King Charles I was executed on January 30th, 1649, after his defeat in the English Civil War. The Rump Parliament established a special High Court of Justice to try him for treason, accusing him of abusing his royal power and waging war against Parliament and the English people. Charles refused to recognize the court's authority, but he was found guilty and publicly beheaded in London. His execution shocked Europe because it was the first time a reigning English monarch had been publicly tried and executed by representatives of his own people. Shortly afterward, Parliament abolished the monarchy and the House of Lords and declared England a republic known as the Commonwealth. Parliament, supported by the army, assumed control of the government, beginning the interregnum. After Charles I was executed, England had no monarch. During this period, Parliament, the army, and eventually Oliver Cromwell struggled to determine how the country should be governed. As stated in the last slide, after Charles I's execution, England abolished the monarchy and became a republic known as the Commonwealth. It was governed by the Rump Parliament, the members who remained after the army expelled those who opposed putting Charles on trial. In 1653, Oliver Cromwell became frustrated with the Rump Parliament's lack of progress and refusal to dissolve itself, so he used the army to disband it. Oliver Cromwell governed as Lord Protector, exercising powers similar to those of a monarch, but without taking the crown. His government promoted strict Puritan moral reforms and relied heavily on the army to maintain authority. Before becoming Lord Protector, Cromwell led the conquest of Ireland, where his forces committed brutal massacres, and his army defeated Scottish forces that supported Charles II. After Cromwell's death in 1658, his son Richard Cromwell briefly succeeded him, but lacked the support of the army. The Protectorate collapsed in 1659, helping bring about the restoration of the monarchy under Charles II in 1660. Charles II was known for his charm and political skill, which helped him avoid many of the mistakes that had doomed his father. He reopened theaters closed during Puritan rule and generally favored greater religious toleration, although he privately sympathized with Catholicism. The Convention Parliament restored the monarchy, disbanded most of the Puritan-controlled army, and pardoned most former rebels. The Royalist-dominated Cavalier Parliament then restored the authority of the Church of England. The Clarendon Code was a series of laws requiring Anglican religious practices and restricting Catholics and Protestant nonconformists, including Puritans. Nonconformists were excluded from public office and faced restrictions on worship, teaching, and preaching. The Test Act required holders of civil and military offices to follow Anglican practices, effectively excluding Catholics and many Protestant dissenters. The Habeas Corpus Act strengthened individual rights by requiring authorities to justify imprisonment and bring prisoners promptly before the court. Charles II faced a difficult international situation as England competed with the Dutch Republic for trade and naval power while also managing relations with France. His alliances shifted according to England's economic interests, his financial needs, and political circumstances. Although Charles publicly presented himself as an Anglican, he privately sympathized with Catholicism and developed a close relationship with Louis XIV of France. He also sought French financial support so that he would be less dependent on Parliament for money. The Secret Treaty of Dover was an agreement between Charles II and Louis XIV. Charles promised to support France in a war against the Dutch Republic, contributing to the Third Anglo-Dutch War. In return, Louis promised Charles substantial financial subsidies. In the treaty's most secret provision, Charles also promised to announce his conversion to Catholicism when circumstances permitted, although he never did so publicly during his reign. He was reportedly received into the Catholic Church shortly before his death in 1685. The treaty temporarily reduced Charles' financial dependence on Parliament, but his pro-French policies and suspected Catholic sympathies increased religious and political tensions within England. James II openly promoted Catholicism, alarming England's Protestant majority. He appointed Catholics to important positions in the government and army, maintained a large standing army near London, and surrounded himself with Catholic advisors. He also challenged the authority of the Church of England and interfered with Anglican control of Oxford University. James claimed the royal power to suspend laws or exempt individuals from obeying them, allowing him to appoint Catholics despite the Test Acts. In 1687, he issued the Declaration of Indulgence, also called the Declaration for Liberty of Conscience, which suspended laws against Catholics and Protestant dissenters. Although it offered religious toleration, James issued it through royal authority without Parliament's approval, increasing fears that he intended to establish Catholic absolutism. In 1688, many English political leaders feared that James II was attempting to promote Catholicism and establish an absolute monarchy. Their concerns intensified when his Catholic wife gave birth to a son, creating the possibility of a lasting Catholic dynasty. A group of prominent English leaders invited James's Protestant daughter Mary, who had been raised in the Church of England, and her husband William of Orange to intervene. William was the Dutch stadtholder and a leading opponent of Louis XIV of France, Europe's most powerful Catholic monarch. When William landed in England with an army, many of James's supporters deserted him. James fled to France, and Parliament subsequently offered the English crown jointly to William and Mary. Because the transfer of power involved relatively little bloodshed in England, it became known as the Glorious Revolution. After William and Mary took the throne, Parliament required them to accept the Declaration of Rights, which was enacted as the English Bill of Rights. It placed clear limits on royal authority and strengthened Parliament's role in government. So, key provisions included that the monarch could not, without Parliament's consent, suspend or ignore laws, levy taxes, or maintain a standing army during peacetime. The Bill of Rights also protected free elections and freedom of speech in Parliament, affirmed the people's right to petition the monarch, prohibited excessive bail, excessive fines, and cruel and unusual punishment, and required Parliament to meet regularly. The English Bill of Rights confirmed that the monarch must govern with Parliament and helped establish England as a constitutional monarchy. It also influenced later documents, including the United States Bill of Rights, and contributed to the development of individual rights and representative government. We conclude today with the following focus question. Why was the Glorious Revolution a turning point in English history, and how did it change the balance of power between the monarchy and Parliament?